Today's episode with guest Greg Luken, we talk about riches versus wealth. He shares how he has supported first generation wealthy and what their superpowers have looked like and how you can mimic that to create your own wealth as well. Welcome to Wealthy After 40, where I help you turn retirement uncertainty into a clear, actionable plan. If you're thinking about retirement but feel unsure whether it's even possible, I understand. The gap between where you are now and where you want to be can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to. Hi, I'm Daylene Higgins, founder of Elevate Finances and your personal financial coach. Having retired at the age of 50 and have enjoyed over 2 years of retirement bliss, I'm here to help you create your retirement dream and make it a reality. No more wondering, no more guessing, just taking action and building a future for yourself. Join me each week as I guide you through essential topics such as budgeting, cash flow, lifestyle planning, debt and savings, insurance, Medicare, and Social Security. Together, we'll build a strategy to help you achieve the retirement you've always desired. It's time to shift from uncertain to unstoppable and make your retirement dreams a reality. Are you confident that you're on track for retirement, or does the uncertainty keep you up at night? If you've ever wondered, how much do I really need to retire? Am I saving enough, or am I behind? What should I be focusing on right now to make sure I'm ready for retirement? The Retirement Ready Bootcamp is a 3-day experience designed to give you those answers. We'll cover what it means to be truly retirement ready, how to create a retirement lifestyle that aligns your purpose and your finances, and how to determine if you have enough or what to do if you don't. You don't have to be alone on this retirement planning journey. Join me in the Retirement Ready Bootcamp and gain the knowledge and confidence to make your retirement possible. Link to register is down in the show notes, or visit my website at elevatefinances.us. Excited to see you in the bootcamp. Well, Greg, welcome to the podcast. I'm excited to chat with you today. As we were just discussing right before I hit record, the way you like to detail stories. And these stories are from your experience of 3.5 decades. So ready to dive into that. Before we do, tell us who you are, what you do, and what you love.
Great. My name is Greg Luken. What I do is I help people do what they want to do. I mean, we can make it sound real complicated, but it really gets down to just helping them make smart decisions about money so they can do whatever it is they want to do. It's interesting. Just at lunch, I was talking to somebody. I said, I feel so fortunate because for me, there's a blurring of lines between work and play. And so as we share in our office, hey, what's good news personally and professionally, I start sharing personal and it ends up being, hey, yeah, I got this project done. And so what I love to do is I love being outside. I love to hike. I love to ski. I love to do adventurous sports. And fortunately, I'm able to do that. So.
I love that.
And I love to work.
And work should be fun. I love to work as well. And I'm glad I chose this as a quote job in my retirement years. It just brings me so much joy. So to dive into the fact that you primarily work with first generation wealthy, and I think you said you kind of recognized that. And then there were some underlying things that you also discovered. So let us know, what does first generation mean? Who is that? And what are their characteristics? Things like that.
Sure. Virtually everyone I've worked with for 3.5 decades came from, I'll say, modest or humble means. We have a client whose parents were migrant workers, and he was too as a child. And people that had school teachers and firemen for parents, and people that grew up with what I would call just a normal middle-class upbringing. But there was something that happened where they had some drive and they became either top performing professionals or a business owner. Back, when I was younger, we called them business owners. Now everybody's an entrepreneur. But before everybody was an entrepreneur, they're either entrepreneurs or top performing professionals. And so what ends up happening is there are all these psychological things that show up because these people really have a foot in each world. They have a foot in their old world where you didn't talk about money around the dinner table. You weren't raised with a silver spoon in your mouth. You had a plastic spork. And one person shared the story that, hey, we lost our house. I ended up couch surfing. My mom moved in with her parents. I slept on friends' couches. And I got out of college, worked my way through college. I got a job at a firm, became a partner there. And now, 35 years later, I have attorneys and CPAs telling me what states I can't afford to die in. And so, this whole idea that there are complexities that we didn't talk about around the dinner table. There were things that weren't talked about. There are these things that show up just psychographically, I guess you say, that like imposter syndrome or FOMO, the fear of missing out, or FOMO, the fear of messing up, or, the Waffle House hash brown life where you're scattered, smothered, and all covered up. You got, aging parents, you got kids, you're trying to help them adult, you've got a career to manage, and you're trying to have a life somewhere in there. So there are all these things going on. And I didn't grow up knowing about, we didn't talk about private equity or 1035 exchanges or 1031 tax-free exchanges or Section 2502. Nobody knew anything about the tax code because it didn't really affect us. And so it's really fun to me because it's a really tangible way to help people who have moved literally from one world into another.
It's like other people talking to me and they're like, well, how did it work for them? And how did they get there? And why them? Why not me? Why them type of thing? And so we know they've worked hard.
Sure.
It wasn't inherited, but what would you say was different about them? How were they able to get past the FOMO or that FOMO, like you said, to reach their actual place of, wealth?
One of the distinctions we make is there's a difference between wealth and riches. Riches is when, the paycheck comes in and you've got money to spend on whatever it is, and everybody can see that you have money to spend. Wealth is when you store it. And so wealth is not really a factor of someone's income. I've known people, we had a client who, at the height of his career, made $36,000 of income and he retired before age 50 and was continuing to save money because he was so frugal and he lived on a fraction of what he made. So one of those factors is that they are continually living significantly below their means. Another factor is that they're able to do that because they've identified what we call the three superpowers. And so they are able to use those three superpowers to overcome the things that get in their way, overcome the hurdles, and stay on track because they have a clear sense of where they're going.
It's like, wow, so good. But I love that you brought up the difference between riches and wealth. And I also believe wealth is what you keep and it's what you have monetarily, but it's also who is there with you. And it comes in a lot of different forms. So I think
Right.
that's equally important. But the thing I want to ask you, since we talked about all of the tax code and all of those numbers and all of those things, it's like you only know what you know, but how did these individuals gain the knowledge they needed to boost themselves, to move themselves forward?
Yes, Dana, is it all right if I talk about the three superpowers? Because I think that really
Yep.
ties into answering this question. And
Yeah.
I'm not trying to take the long way around, but really kind of get to the heart of the issue. The three superpowers we identify, they're not going to sound like rocket surgery. Number one is the power of purpose. Number two is the power of plan. And number three is the power of execution. So if you think about purpose or your deep why, or what is that magnetic force, that north star, And I can't help but think of the show The Biggest Loser. And at the beginning of, I haven't seen it for a while, but at the beginning of the seasons that I saw, the shows that I saw, they would ask people, why do you want to lose this weight? And what struck me was the answer was never, so I can brag about how great my body looks. It's not about, so everybody will look at me. It always ended up being some answer about somebody else because I want to be healthy enough to walk my daughter down the aisle when she graduates high school or when she gets married, or I want to do this for my wife or my husband so that I'm really there to enjoy that time with them. So it's that sense of why, that sense of purpose is, whether you call it an anchor or a North Star, it is that sense of why. Then the power of plan. I know I need a plan. I don't know what the plan needs to be, but finding someone to help them get a plan, whether it's for budgeting or whatever. As you know from your coaching business, the hardest time to make a money decision is right in the midst of when you have to make a money decision, because cognitively it takes so much energy to make that decision. And there's so many things coming at you emotionally. And if you're able to make the decision previously so that you have a step by step concrete plan of action, it's much easier. It's like going to the gym and saying, today is upper body day, and I'm going to go do some upper body workout. You'll probably get a workout and it may be okay. However, when you go in with an exercise plan, or go in, even better, go in with a coach who says, all right, here's what we're going to do. To warm up, we're going to do these 5 exercises, do 3 rounds. Then what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 sets of 10 reps and it's all spelled out, and you don't have to think. All you have to do is, complain to the coach. I'm tired. And they say, okay, take another 5 seconds and give me 10 more push-ups. And it is that kind of concrete plan where you don't have to think cognitively. It's laid out for you ahead of time. Just like, how you may help coach people on budgeting, where I don't have to get to the restaurant and then decide, you already know ahead of time, here's the game plan. And then that third piece, that the power of consistent execution is, look, we know we're all human. We're all going to fall off the wagon. We're all going to get bucked out of the saddle. And so do you have a process in place to say, okay, you messed up, but that was yesterday. It's today. Dust yourself off, get back on track. Let's get going. And so having those 3 pieces where you've got the clear sense of where you're going, the step-by-step plan of action to get there, and a game plan, call it a safety net for when you fall off plan, how you're going to get back on. And what all these people have done is been able to either have a team or at least allow themselves to be coached. For years, I wished I had a mentor. And I was in business and I said, well, it must be because this business is really competitive, or, there's a lot of professional jealousy or something. And looking back on it now after a few decades,
Yeah.
the more likely cause may have been, I may not have been coachable. And so getting to that point where I'm coachable, I think has allowed me to really help other people. And it's through those relationships that we can really make that lasting change, because that's what helps us have that game plan. That's what helps us get back on track and helps us remember what is that centering power of why, or that power of purpose.
Yeah. I love how you brought up the fact that we all fall off, have
Absolutely.
stumbling blocks, whatever it is. But I think going back to that power of plan, you have that plan. And so that idea of getting back on, you just like, well, here I was, and you just keep going. I think that's important for people to realize that we are not bulletproof. We are not, perfect. No one, even those who have amassed a certain amount of wealth.
Right.
So I love that. And I love your powers, the power of purpose, plan, and execution. And as you were describing those are the exact steps I took as I set myself in to be able to retire before the age of 50. And I waited till I was 50, but I had my reason, I had my purpose. That kept out the
Yeah.
FOMO. I could have cared less what everybody else was doing because I knew what I wanted.
Those three powers allow you to focus on you, getting what you want for the reasons that are important to you. I have kids, and I was talking to one of them who was talking about, I really want this kind of watch. And why do you want this kind of, well, because it's really cool, but it's expensive and da da da. Here's an example of there's nothing wrong with having that watch. You can, you can get that watch, but please understand why you want the watch. Is it because you need to tell time? Because if so, don't you have a clock on your phone? Don't you have a cheap Casio wristwatch? Yes. And you want this watch that costs a few $1,000s. And it's because of what it signals that I fit in. We all have some way of doing that, right? And so I'm not making a value judgment on it. I'm just saying it's important to understand why. And when you have that clear sense of your own inner why, then you can decide whether that watch is important or not. And it may be still. You just may love the design, the aesthetic of it, and that's okay. But it's just interesting. We all make so many money decisions, sometimes for reasons that we don't even know.
I always try to tell people it doesn't matter, like you're saying, have your purpose, be able to defend your purpose. Because if you can defend your purpose, you're not going to second guess yourself. You're not going to go, oh, well, I'm doing it wrong. Or going to somewhere else. You're willing to stick to that plan and execute it.
Absolutely.
So, all right. How did you get started as a financial advisor?
Well, it's one of my favorite stories. I got out of college after a kind of a circuitous path. I didn't get out in 4 years and dropped out and worked for a while. But I had a couple corporate jobs, bought some real estate. I dug a really deep hole and eventually got to the point where my goal was to work my way up to zero. I wanted to get from negative numbers to up to zero. And in doing that, I also had a distant relative who he was an independent financial advisor. And I thought that sounded interesting for years and kind of thought about that. So I started interviewing. I got rejection letters from very storied names on Wall Street about why I didn't have the core competencies to be successful. I think a lot of that had to do with just having a proclivity for sales. That wasn't my strong suit. But I found somebody that let me get started. I started as a stockbroker in the early 90s, started writing some code to help make better decisions. That code worked out pretty well. We still use a quantitative approach built on the foundation of that initial algorithm. And it's been improved over the years. And started a broker dealer, started a registered investment advisor, was a founding member, initial shareholder of a pricing platform for non-standardized derivatives. So we've done some kind of nerdy things along the way and a subscription service for financial advisors for a quantitative portfolio. We've done several things along the way, but our core is working with first gen wealth, and everything else really supports that. But it's interesting. I've been in this industry for quite some time, and yet what I do now doesn't really resemble what I did 30 years ago, just because of the evolution of the industry. And I think things have gotten a lot more complex.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah. I was chatting, I think it was with my husband. He gets tired of listening to me. I understand that. But I'm telling him all of these
You're probably
reasons
the only one.
why different generations struggle with saving, but it's really these products, right? Like 401ks to my parent were like, what? They didn't educate me. My dad did. I shouldn't say that. But, it's like this passing along. I remember when the Roth came out and the HSA, and I was like, what? And so I have to go through this education period where the next generation, you have the millennials just adopting it like crazy. I have worked with clients who still want to do the check register and they have to balance it to the T. And I'm like, we have digital ways of checking in, making sure we have no fraud, making sure everything's gone through, and we've got to simplify it because it is there. So yeah, for you to have amassed over the 3.5 decades is just amazing. So If somebody is looking to work with you, if they're a first gen, maybe they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing pretty well. How can they reach you and what does that look like?
Thank you for asking. Our website is luken.pro, Luken.pro, and there's a contact form on there. And that starts with a discovery call, just figuring out what's going on and seeing if we can help people on that first call or point them in the right direction. Sometimes they just have questions, need a sounding board, and so make sure we're getting them pointed in the right direction. And then, if it makes sense, we start with what we call a wealth roadmap, which helps lay out somebody's deep why. That sense of purpose that really everything else falls under, and then really clarifying some goals and time frames. And that's a good way to get started. If you think of it this way, making good decisions about our money at whatever level is really about the same kind of fundamental factors as running a good business. Do you have more coming in than you have going out? Do you have a game plan so that you don't have stress? Running your own money, running your portfolio is really like running a good business. There are some checks and balances in place. You have controls in place. You have a process in place, and it's not just going willy-nilly.
Yeah. That's very good advice. Thank you, listeners. Connect with him, especially if you're interested maybe to discuss further this first gen wealth. Maybe that is you. Reach out to him. What an amazing feat for these people to have reached that, and how honoring for you and rewarding for you to be able to work with them.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure, and we're really excited about Unleash Your Financial Superpowers that is coming out.
That's right, your book. So links for all of his information, including that book, will be down in the show notes. Grab that and schedule that discovery call. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening. Each week, my goal is to help you get one step closer to retirement so you can be excited for that big day instead of stressed and just hoping it will work out. If today's episode got you thinking about your retirement planning and wondering if you're on the right track, let's connect. Schedule a free Q&A call to discuss your retirement needs and how I can support you in creating a retirement that's possible. Or if you know you're ready, schedule your Retirement Ready VIP session to dive deeper into your retirement goals and design the life you want. Complete with a personalized roadmap, you'll be on your way to a dream retirement. Don't wait to take action. You deserve the retirement you dream about. Be sure to take that first step today. And if not, be sure to tune in next week for the episode to learn more and move yourself to a retirement that's possible.